That, I think, would have announced the death knell for this movie. Will she or won't she? There's a lot of speculation as to whether or not Florence Pugh would attend the press conference in Venice for Don't Worry Darling. Of course, as we all know, she did not end up showing up for the press conference. And the party line was that, well, her plane doesn't land until after the press conference because Florence Pugh doesn't get in from Budapest, where Dune 2 is being filmed, until after the press conference in Venice is over. Now, working in Hollywood, I know that things can always be arranged and worked out if that's really what needed to happen. If Warner Brothers wanted Florence there to do the press conference, this is the important part, and Florence was going to be happy about doing it, then they would have sent their private jet to send her there on time. But I wanted to discuss the importance of publicity services today. When I make an actor deal while I was working at Disney or Skydance or BuzzFeed, there are two parts that go into an actor deal, and they're both equally as important. For an actress like Florence Pugh, her acting services are comprised of two parts. One, the actual acting services on camera, what actually gets captured as work for hire. And the second part are publicity services. Now, this is something that people don't really talk about, and I wanted to talk about it today through the lens of Florence Pugh and Ezra Miller with his services on The Flash. So let's dive in. I'm Tyler. I have been an attorney in Hollywood for 15 years, having worked at companies like Disney, Skydance, and BuzzFeed. And I have done probably over 50 actor deals in my day, some very, very high level ones. I have actually also been a talent attorney on the firm side, having represented some very, very big actors. Now, I will say I was on their team, right? Because there's the partner who's their relationship partner, but each partner has associates, and I was one of those associates. I don't want to say I directly represented Tom Hanks or Marissa Tomei or Ryan Murphy or Robert Rodriguez, but I was on their team. So when we're making an actor deal, the first thing we ask is, what is your availability? What is your schedule like? And then there are many, many parts, right? I am not going to go through every single part because I think that's too complicated and will take too long, but I wanted to break down at least acting services and publicity services today, because publicity services is the one that's actually very negotiable. The language in the agreements, well, as a studio and as the company side, we will always go overbroad that an actor is supposed to provide all publicity services as required by studio or company. Now, the higher level you will get a lot of pushback. And I'm going to talk about hypotheticals, right? Let's say an actor of Will Smith's level will say, well, I want final approval over all publicity services and appearances. And we will push back and we will say, no, you have to give a reasonable number of publicity services, publicity events, publicity appearances, whether it be interviews with the different outlets, in print or on camera. And a lot of times we will have something in writing, but then things will happen, right? As they did happen with Florence, that might dictate that we be more flexible. Now, what's really interesting about the Don't Worry Darling situation is that Don't Worry Darling and Dune 2 were both controlled by Warner Brothers, right? They're both Warner Brothers projects. So if Warner Brothers wanted Florence to do the press conference at Venice, it probably could have told the director, you know what, you're just gonna have to release Florence early that day, because an actor's promotion of a film can make or break a film. When you start hearing that if an actor might not like the film or the director, then people will say, well, then it must be a crap film, because if the lead star doesn't like it, then why should we go watch it? And that hurts the publicity. And so even before a film releases, you want the actor, the lead actor, to really love the film and promote it. And we definitely got the sense that Florence Pugh did not love this movie based on the very limited interviews that she gave. Now, what probably happened is, they got the date for the press conference, and somebody from Warner Brothers reached out to Florence's team and said, well, this is when we need her there. And they will say, oh no, but we have a contractual obligation, which is usually a condition to how an actor can get out of a publicity event, is we have a contractual obligation to be on set for Dune 2. Now, like I said, Warner Brothers probably could have called the director and, asked the director to release her. But Florence might have just said, no, I don't want to do this this press conference. And Warner Brothers is probably inclined to make her happy because she is probably one of the biggest and most respected actors on the planet right now. So they don't want to piss her off. And so they probably said, okay, but can you at least attend the premiere? Because imagine if she didn't attend the press conference and didn't attend the premiere. That, I think, would have announced the death knell for this movie. More than everything else that was happening, of course. So it was probably the best call that Warner Brothers could have done by not having her go. Because if she was there and she looked pissed or she conveyed displeasure or unhappiness, I think the press would have picked up on that more than anything else. So not having her go was, I'm guessing, that it was probably Warner Brothers' call to not have her go. Now, an actor's services where they act on camera is very important because without that, then you don't have the movie, right? But some would say that if an actor does not do publicity, it could really kill their career. There have been rumors of certain actors out there who were either difficult or refused to do publicity services, and you see that their career either slowed down or they disappeared and you wondered, where do they go? Now, what about Ezra Miller in The Flash? I will use their proper pronouns because they prefer to use the pronouns they and them, so I will respect their wishes. Ezra Miller is a studio's nightmare. Potentially a great actor who is just a dumpster fire off screen. Ezra Miller has been accused of assault on several different people on different occasions. He has been found guilty of breaking into neighbors' homes to steal alcohol. There have been terrible grooming allegations against a young girl. I mean, they have been incredibly challenging because people were wondering, should Ezra be replaced? Should they pull the whole movie? Should they go forward and not let him do any publicity? Now, he has come out and issued an apology, but, I think that's probably PR. He needed to issue an apology, and they state that they're getting mental health support right now. But what should a studio do here? I believe, and we will see when the movie releases in June, it actually just pulled its release date up a week. The movie is now going to go head-to-head with Pixar's Elemental, which is a vote of confidence on Warner Brothers' part in the movie. It must think that it's a very strong movie for it to go head-to-head with Pixar. But I believe what will happen is Warner Brothers probably will not require Ezra to perform his publicity services. They are very erratic and cannot be trusted. So in the exact opposite of Florence Pugh, where Warner Brothers probably wanted her to do publicity services, here they will probably not make Ezra Miller do publicity services and just hope people forget how erratic and unstable they are. So is that okay? I mean, ultimately, as the employer, as the studio can do whatever it wants, right? It can not have its actors do any publicity services or really limit them, or maybe just give print interviews and not give any interviews on camera. So I believe that is what will happen with Ezra Miller on The Flash, because if I was the attorney in charge of that movie, I would say, please do not put them in front of any press reporters, any press outlets, any reporters. Okay,